Yes, yes, yes. It is the Castworthy podcast, and we are back at you. I am Big Steve, aka Last of a Dying Breed, on the Twitter machine, joined by VP and EJ Stewart. We are reporting live, and there's a war going on outside. It is February 27th, um, Sunday, last day, well, day before the last day of the month. It's now a leap year. What's going on, fellas? What you guys up to? How you guys dealing with the mental anguish of looking at the internets and seeing people getting slaughtered on the other side of the world?
I haven't been watching. Um, yeah, I haven't been watching it, man. Not the, not the, not the actual footage and all of that. I haven't been keeping up with anything like that. But I mean, it's sad. It's tragic, for the Ukrainians and everything that's going on. But I just hope American lives don't get lost.
Yeah, I haven't watched like anything like online. I've heard stories about shit that you can see online, happening with Ukraine. I've been watching mostly like traditional news sources. But shit I've heard is bad. Like on if you go and look at the kind of like the unsanitized version of things, I feel sorry for those people. I hope that they're able to continue to do the things that they're doing to fight for their country, and thoughts are with them, man. But yeah, it's sad. But one thing I will say, these Ukrainians, like this is not Afghanistan. You know what I mean? Like how when we left the Taliban, Afghanistan had a standing army of 300,000 troops.
Hmm.
Modern weapons that we gave them, state of the art weapons, technology, shit like that, and they got you know run over by 50,000 Taliban dudes, fighting from the back of pickup trucks with AKs and shit, and that's not what's going on in Ukraine. These people are like, this is our fucking country, and you know, we're gonna defend it. You know what I mean? And they're doing a good job of it so far.
Yeah, they're a I mean, you got to show a lot of respect for them. I was telling somebody the other day, as you look at the videos and shit, and you see them, on the front line. You got the Klitschko brothers that came out with like, "Hey, we're here for it. These dudes are rich. They could easily have gotten into it on a jet and gotten the fuck up out of there." Um, and they're a strong people, man. They are passionate about their country. They're passionate about going up against Russia and kind of trying to do their best to keep this all together. It's the different, you see the difference in culture and thinking between there and like America. Like today, I was telling somebody yesterday, today, you motherfuckers see their boy getting jumped and won't jump in, let alone being, a fucking other country coming here acting crazy. Like all these Proud Boys and shit with all their guns and their gun rights and shit. Oh, this is go ask Ukraine why we need these weapons. Motherfucker, you wasn't doing shit if somebody come knock on your door. I promise you. Like
Right.
our culture, we're not built like that. We're America. We're better than, and we're soft. We soft ass culture.
Nah, I think you're totally right, man. Like you see all these people, oh, I gotta have all these guns because if the government gets out of control, I gotta show up, whoop whoop whoop, all this bullshit. And these people are a bunch of fucking pussies, yo. They ain't gonna do shit. You know what I mean? And here you have these Ukrainians who the government's like, yo, if you're fighting age, show up to your local police station. If there's a military base near you, whatever, so we can get you armed. And motherfuckers are showing up, men, women, people. I've seen a picture of a fucking of a grandma. This lady, like she was about 70 something years old, at a shooting range with an AK. You know what I mean? Um,
Busy.
um, I saw another dude who he wasn't even in Ukraine. He was in Austria. He had work in Austria. He quit his job, came back to Ukraine. He was like, "Yo, this is my country." You know what I mean? Like this shit can't happen. And I saw this other video of this old lady. She was talking to these Russian troops. It was in Russian, so somebody translated what she said, and she was like asking the Russian soldiers, like, "Why are you here? Why are you here?" And they were telling her like, "You need to back up. You need to back up," and all this kind of shit like that. And then she opened up her hand and was trying to give them some sunflower seeds. And she was like, take these sunflowers so that way when we kill you, sunflowers will grow where your body was at. I was like, damn, yo. Like,
Yeah, the
so
other
they
thing,
built different, dog.
the other thing to go unnoticed, yeah, and of course, because I mean, their people have been at this shit since the 15th century or more, right? But the other thing to go that is going unsaid is that Russian people are like, yo, this is fucked up. Russian citizens are like, yo, this is fucked up. Like,
Hmm.
we not with this shit. And Putin, if he's not careful, I don't know how, because motherfuckers, some analysts are saying if he's not careful, he's gonna have unrest and uprising in Russia. They don't really know the KGB. Well, KGB don't exist, but they don't really know the Spetsnaz and all them people. They don't play that shit in Russia. Like, you don't really speak against the government like that. But
Right.
it is telling to say, Russian people like, yo, it's 2022. Leave these motherfuckers alone, bro. And in theory, when you think about it, theoretically, it is one of the worst things you could see, because what if France just decided, hey, Haiti, we want to bring y'all motherfuckers back? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's just like, in that theory, you're trying to take this country back, saying we want you under the umbrella, and we're gonna take it. In theory, it's bad, but it's sad, man. I just hope we don't. I mean, I'm an American first. I would love to see NATO and other world bodies have the same energy when people of African descent in other countries are reaching out to them for help. But yeah, I mean, we know what this is. I was telling somebody the other day, Black Americans want something done in this country, just start naming it Russia, because that's the only time. It's the only time the U.S. government is gonna really be about that action, man. We've been beefing with Russia forever now. It's just, you know,
Or anything international. To Vari's point, that's his passion. That's Biden's passion. That's where he's been. That's his wheelhouse, right? So you could be like, "Yo, there's a problem over in China," and then put him on a jet and put him in the middle of Ethiopia. Let him pop out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to trick his mind real quick, because I agree with you, man. There's a lot of we say it, man. And we could get into this and beat it and beat it and beat it. Pause. You got the black vote, right? Do something for the black people, but we're talking about $6 billion going to, suggested to go to Ukrainian aid, 3.5 this morning, 350 this morning for for supplies, um, you know, ammunition and so on, right? Like, that's a lot of money, and I get it. Listen, we all feel like poor Ukraine, right? And we think it's a bad thing, and there's shit to be done there and shit to be fixed. But before this, you know, as far as I'm concerned, there was still nothing going on for us, and this is kind of telling.
I mean, I hear what you guys are saying, but I disagree with it, right? Like, you have to
of
remember
course.
when countries act in international affairs, right? They're taking the interests of a country at hand, right? And you got to think more broadly about this Ukraine situation, right? So we have the NATO alliance, and Article 5 of the NATO Charter says an attack on one is attack on all, right? If Putin is allowed to take over Ukraine, that's going to make Russia now the edge of the borders of their country will push up against Poland and Lithuania and Estonia, Latvia, all NATO allies, right? And if some shit pops off between one of them, and then they say, "Hey, we were attacked," we're invoking Article 5. We got to go and defend them. That shit could lead to World War III. You know what I mean?
Literally.
Right now, on in Western Ukraine in Lviv, that's where most of the U.S. Embassy folks were working, and then they moved out of Lviv and went into Poland, right? So there's some 25-year-old, officer who's punching in coordinates to for a drone strike or a missile strike or something like that, and he clicks the 2 instead of the 3, and then instead of that missile landing in Lviv, it lands in Poland, which is right next door. And then Poland says, "Hey, we were attacked. We gotta, it's time to set it off now." You know what I mean? Not only that, if this Ukraine shit is allowed to happen, who's to say China doesn't go in and say, "Okay, we're taking Taiwan. Why is Taiwan important?" Taiwan is insanely important because Taiwan is to semiconductors or computer chips as Saudi Arabia is to oil. So if Saudi Arabia takes over Taiwan and then says, we're not letting you guys get any more computer chips from Taiwan Semiconductor, which makes 50% of the world's computer chips. And think about everything that computer chips goes in these days, which is basically everything, right? What does that do to the global economy and shit like that? So this shit is broader than just Ukraine.
Of course, and we all know the strategic implications. Not to mention, again, we have been beefing with Russia for years. So even if none of those things were at stake, the United States always will find a way to get into conflict with Russia. No problem. I understand that. My other thing is, though, NATO and all of these other world organizations, peacekeeping organizations, I just want to one day see them have the same energy when it comes to other nations. And it's indisputable. We can sit here. The one underlying thing outside of the political and strategic advantages that you named in all those other countries, when you're talking about human lives and disadvantages and people losing their lives and just civil liberties and things at risk, have the same energy all across the board. That's the only thing
Yeah.
I care about.
And I hear you, but I just want to correct something that you said. NATO is not a peacekeeping organization. NATO is
I
a
said I
defensive
said
military
these
alliance.
said these peacekeeping organizations, and one underlying thing NATO is supposed to do in some regard is keep the peace, right?
No,
Yeah, it is. In theory.
no, no.
In theory it is.
NATO is a strategic alliance between North America and various countries in Europe to
And one
basically
of their goals
fight
is to
Russia.
keep the peace. They're not to their goal is not to be aggressive and start war. That's why they have the treaties and they have discussions first, right? I'm not saying that's their sole purpose. I'm saying that's a part of their job.
Yeah, and I'm saying no.
I think leading up to the intervention of NATO, the expectation is that we exhaust all other options first, right? But I wouldn't say that's a NATO thing, right? NATO
NATO
is
literally has peacekeeping missions and peacekeeping treaties.
right, but they're a tool. They're a tool in that whole
That's my point. He's just being a dick.
yeah. What else is new? But to your point, Vari, I mean Ukraine, I saw the other day that they supply 90% of the gas that's used for those same semiconductors. So there's a problem there, right? And you can fact check that to see exactly what the number was, but there's a problem. There's going to be a problem anyway. There's going to be a chip shortage due to all of this shit anyway. And Russia, if Russia gains control over that, that's going to be painful. I mean, look at everything that we're dealing with today already. You can't make vehicles. These companies won't be able to make vehicles. They won't be able to. I mean, computers won't be able to be created. Anything that requires any type of intelligence is going to be halted, and it's going to it'll hurt us, or slowed at least, maybe not halted. But I think here's the biggest piece, EJ. Is we never see what's happening in the African countries and the Hades and such, unless it's like if it's a natural disaster, they'll give us the footage, right? But when niggas is getting killed and shot over there, they're not putting that on TV, right? And Ukraine similarly, right? When you think about the first couple of days, people were like, oh shit, this is fucked up. Putin's doing some dirty shit. Kind of went on with their lives. You start to see the footage surface of people getting killed. The one video that VP shared where, the jet came in and a woman's filming and then you hear her kids screaming. Like, it's different. It's just like, always bring it back to Ray Rice, right? Ray Rice, and smack his hand until they actually see him punch her in her face and knock her the fuck out and drag her into an elevator, right? It's different when you see something. We're not seeing it when you talk about these black countries, but you're seeing it with Ukraine, and I think that's why this overwhelming amount of support has come from Americans.
Yeah, and VP's point, it's a different situation with different implications overall. But I just again the tone, and to your point, I don't know, because we've seen footage of what is going on when you really look in some of these countries and the different things that are happening. Again, it's just a response. It's just like anything else. Like our government is going to respond to different things that they prioritize faster, just like, the opioid crisis, when it wasn't hitting middle America and certain people, it was an issue. So I mean, it's just one of those things. I get the political aspect of it, but as a Black American, you have to kind of sit back and kind of you got to kind of sit back and just be like, it's fucked up, but you know, like
Take these
I mean,
breath
I,
types.
Vari always says, the everyday American can't feel certain things. Everyday American doesn't know the depth of and the brevity of what's going on.
yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and it would be great if we were able to get involved in like some of these things that happen in places in Africa. But I mean, outside of, you know, one, you have to ask yourself, like, what is it that we can do, right? If a war or some kind of conflict is happening, right? The you can send aid to one side or the other. You can do sanctions, or you can do military assistance where you're, either sending in weapons to help them defend themselves, or you send in American troops to try to keep the peace or something like that. You know what I mean? Um um Americans are mostly tired of war. I mean, we was in Afghanistan for 20 years, and most people aren't going to tolerate American troops being sent, uh, uh, not just to African countries, anywhere. That's why I think Biden is saying we're not going to Ukraine. We're not sending. He's made that clear that we're not sending troops to Ukraine. If you talk about sanctions in a place like Africa, like a lot of these countries have already been sanctioned, had their sanctioned the shit out of them already. And sanctions don't hurt the government necessarily; they hurt the people. But the point of it is kind of to hurt the people to make them make the government change. You see what I'm saying? So you don't allow them access to banking systems or to certain, medicines and technologies and shit like that, and it makes life harder on the people of that country to try to force them to change the way the government is behaving. But in certain countries, like in North, I mean, you think about a place like North Korea, for example. North Korea has all kind of sanctions on them. Their leader doesn't give a shit because he doesn't care about the people. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it don't matter how many sanctions that we do in North Korea, he's never gonna change because he doesn't give a shit about those people.
But some of these lesser, and I mean, we're not just gonna, if we were to do more to a country like a North Korea, that has bigger implications. But there are other nations that have these sanctions that we could do more to do the right thing that we don't. I mean, all the shit that we did with the Contras and everything, just historically. The bottom line is, if it doesn't fit America's main objective or agenda, they ain't gonna do it, and that usually
Right.
pertains to Black people.
And I hear what you're saying, and I think that that's the larger point, though, is that if it doesn't fit the country's agenda, their goals or whatever, they're not going to do it. And I mean, that's how most countries behave. They do things that are in their benefit.
Right. Right. Um. So would we? Excuse me. So would you say, EJ, to your point, it's you said we don't do anything unless it's our benefit, for Black people, but would you say Biden is kind of turning the cheek here with his nomination, or like it seems like everything that he's trying so much, he's kind of doing like the what do we call that, three card monte, find the
Pandering.
black, always the black, never the red, right? And it's like he'll sprinkle sprinkle some pepper, give us a little black, but nothing that's really impactful to Black people, as far as I'm concerned. um but do you think he's trying to turn that around by making these kind of changes, or you think it's just him saying, look what I did. I put a Black woman here and a Black woman here."
I mean, well, he's firstly, making good on something that he made a point to say he was going to do. I think symbolically it means something. Um, and hopefully, you know, I don't know her record as a judge and how she sways, and her experience is, I think, top notch, being coming from where she's coming from, and the things that she's used to doing. But I don't know what her record is. I don't know her theories. I don't know how she feels. But her just being black, and we all know, like we can all say, just because you my skin folk don't mean you my kinfolk. You know what I mean? So we don't know where she might go or how well she may be. And as a judge, you have to be impartial and fair anyway. So it's not like she's in a position to where she's gonna be like, "Oh, this case is black. I'm doing this." Nah, you want her to be fair and partial, regardless of those things. But I think symbolically, it means a lot. You would like to hope that because you have a black face there now, that we're not just gonna get shafted in certain instances. So
Another blackface, right?
yeah, I mean, I think Joe is doing what he said he was gonna do, which is a good thing. I think if you're a black person, and symbolically, it's a good thing. But it's so much more that needs to be done, and I don't know that this is enough. It's good, it's great, but I don't know that this is enough, especially with who she is and what she's supposed to do, right? In the honor and the sanctity of justice, I don't want her to just look at everything from a black lens. I want her to look at what's right. So, I mean, it is a good win. It's symbolic. It's nice. And I'm glad he made good on what he said he was going to do.
So, what I would say is, first of all, before I get into the nominee, I just want both of you guys to, step way the fuck back. Ketanji Brown Jackson is from Miami. She's one of our own. So I'm not having it. So
Who's who's, who's our own? Because
like me and my people, me and my
Negro,
folks,
you live in Northern.
305,
You don't live in Miami no more.
still claim it every day, born and raised. So but to EJ's point,
so you're saying
judges,
she has gold teeth somewhere in a drawer somewhere for when she's not in the public
hey,
eye?
and when you're from Miami, I can't put it past you. You know what I mean? But it depends though, like, so, if you got the lowers, that shit looks cute, but you got the top ones, I might be like, ooh, she about it, so,
she a jit. She a little jit out here.
so but nah, EJ, I agreed a lot with what EJ said, with most of it.
Shocker.
A judge is supposed to do equal justice under the law, et cetera, right? However,
It doesn't
this
happen.
particular nominee, huh?
I said it doesn't happen. We know that.
Well, with this particular nominee, what's good about her experience is that a lot of people who come through the pipeline and then become judges are former prosecutors, right? And they bring that prosecutorial perspective into the courtroom, into their decision making and things like that. While we think that judges are, justice is blind, the judge looks at the facts, they weigh the evidence, and then they make a decision. That's not what happens, because that's not what happens in people's normal life. They try to do that. I would say, are they doing a good job of it? I don't think so, right? But this judge comes from the other side of the table, where she was a defense attorney. Not only a defense attorney, she was a public defender, and that's huge. You know what I mean? Not only that, Obama nominated her to the before she became a judge. She was on the U.S. Sentencing Commission, which is a commission that looks at people who were charged with federal crimes, to recommend sentencing for them, to recommend like if they should get parole and things like that. So she's coming into this with a totally different perspective, to where if they're weighing the case, if somebody's Fourth Amendment rights were violated in an arrest, in Oklahoma or some shit, that makes its way to the Supreme Court, and the other justices might say, nah, I think cops were good to go here. She can say, well, what I've seen in my experience is a lot of times, woo, 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 and maybe she can change some minds. I don't know. Her overall impact on the court will be very minimal, because the conservatives have a 6-3 majority. That majority will still be 6-3 once she get on the court, because she's replacing someone who's on the liberal side. So she's not going to change the law in this country for now.
Mhm.
But what we have to always remember is that judges, Supreme Court justice, etc., they have lifetime appointments. Okay.
For now.
George H.W. Bush appointed Clarence Thomas to the court in 1991. Clarence Thomas is still on the court today. He's had more impact on the way that Americans live their lives than George Bush did in his 4 years as president.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about what she'll do on the court this year or next year. It's, what happens if this justice resigns or passes away or whatever, and then the balance of the court changes in 15 years from now or something like that. Because the rulings that she'll make will have more impact on this country than Joe Biden ever will.
Right, no doubt. Vari, do you think this? Just kind of a two-part question with a comment in here. Um, do you think this hurts or helps Joe Biden's cause? I think EJ and I both feel like these types of decisions, and this one also from Joe, is pandering to black people, right? And beyond that, though, racism runs deeper and is stronger in people's hearts than their political uh, thoughts, right, or preference. So the racist Democrats, do you think this is going to do a disservice for Biden?
No. I mean, at the end of the day, I always say most people are just living their lives, right? So a lot of people probably don't even know that Biden promised to put a black woman on the court if a vacancy opened up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's some people who they saw the news, oh, Biden's nominating, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and they say, here he goes again, pandering to black people, because they don't know that this was a promise that he made in the campaign, and he said that he was going to keep that promise, and now he's done so, right? So I think it could
There's
hurt him
other
in that.
promises.
I think it could hurt him in that aspect of people who are not as informed as others, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think those people are the vast minority. For most people who were paying attention, they know this was a promise made, a promise kept. For other people who may not be paying attention and who look like us, they may say it's about damn time, and I'm glad he did it, and then keep it moving. You know what I mean? So overall, I think that this is a net positive for Biden with black folks. And the people who think that it's pandering and stuff like that, I think that they're in the vast minority of thought.
especially in the Democratic Party. I would say.
What do you think? What do you think about that, EJ?
No, I agree. I agree. I mean, that's kind of what I was alluding to. He made his promises. All right, great. Most people, yeah, they most people that don't pay attention, it doesn't hit them every day, and that's one thing that I try to explain to people. Some of my rich friends that have great paying jobs, and they're all about this. We're going to this place about financial this and investing and all of that. I get it, but if you don't touch that basic need aspect of the pyramid, people don't give a shit. You know what I mean? When you're talking about trying to improve people's daily lives and where they live and how they live by other external things that they don't see or feel every day, it don't matter. You know what I mean? So if you're talking about a Supreme Court justice, okay, the person in Miami who's worried about why this septic pipe from Dade County is bursting in their fucking living room, and they have to pay $3,000 water bill and all of that. They ain't worried about that shit. They want to know who the fuck they can talk to rectify this right here, right now. Most people ain't gonna see something that directly impacts them, like VP said, directly to the. That's just what it is.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Didn't you have
I
something
just.
about? Didn't you have something you wanted to talk about though with her?
Oh no, I'm not done. I'm not done. I am not done, sir. I was getting there. But so that was part of my question. I'm on the other side of the fence with it. I think it's gonna. I think he's gonna lose votes for it. Both of you guys make a good point when you say, "Oh, I don't think people knew that he," and that's even more of a reason, right? When you talk about us, right? You talk about black people, and I've said it. I said it throughout the whole campaign for Biden the bulk of the vote, well, not the bulk, a lot of the votes that he would be getting are people that don't follow politics. They're just going to associate him with Barack, right? And it's important that he get those votes. It was super important that he got those votes, because had he not, we'd be in a whole different situation. Even though, you know, you and E kind of challenged that pretty heavily. So that's fine, right? But I'm talking about the informed ones. I'm talking about the informed ones who think, you know, white people are better, right? So I saw a comment from someone that said recently, it actually was yesterday, and then, you know, because of my VP conversations, I was able to kind of hold my own a little bit. But it said, how can people be okay with Biden just appointing a black person? How would they feel if Trump said, I'm going to appoint this white man versus the best person for the job, right? And this person, from my understanding and everything, you know, and of course they could be bullshitting, but everything that took place as part of the conversation is a Democrat, right? So that's where I say racism runs deeper than, you know, your political choice. And I think it's going to be, I think it's going to make a difference. I think it's going to change some people and maybe put some people on the fence in the long run when we see the time come.
I'm gonna
But
be
when
short.
people
I'm
say,
gonna be short real quick because I know you're gonna be longer. I don't.
Whoa.
Pause. Whoa, shit.
Yo, it was
I
cold
don't.
that night.
It's bigger than yours. It was cold that night. But I don't know that they'll lose votes, but I definitely agree with you, obviously, about the political aspect and racism, just historically, just in how the parties switched in ideology. So I definitely think you're on to something there. But I don't know votes will be lost, but I definitely understand.
Sorry,
um,
he said Joe was promising stuff. So
um, nah, I hear what you're saying, Steve. But you know, to those people who are
money,
making
Joe.
the argument about you know, whether or not, you know, looking at the best candidate and all that kind of shit like that, these people are full of shit. I think the number is, if I remember correctly, there have been 122 people to sit on the Supreme Court. Of that 122, 115 of them have been white men. You know what I mean? So like, what the fuck? Like, you know, so were we always getting the best candidate? You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I
So
agree. I agree with you
so
100%.
so people like that, they can miss me with that shit, right? When you talk about, or not you, but like when they talk about the best candidate, right? Is the best candidate a 51-year-old black woman, right? She's 51 years. There are judges out there who are, you know, 70, 75, who have 20 years on the bench, you know, deciding super complex issues in the law and shit like that. Wouldn't they be the best candidate with all that experience? But if you're above the age of, let's call it 55, you're not getting on the Supreme Court. It's just not fucking happening. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So people who make that argument about, did we do a wide enough search or look for the best candidate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they're full of shit. At the end of the day, politicians have to pander to constituencies. It just is what it is. Let's call a
Mhm.
spade, right? And so you have Obama and the Democratic Party who were trying to make inroads within the Hispanic community. So when Obama got his first crack at a Supreme Court justice, he put Sonia Sotomayor on the court to use that to basically pander to Hispanics. You know what I mean? Was she extremely qualified? Absolutely. No doubt. You know what I mean? But,
Bilingual.
you know, underneath the surface, let's call it what it was. You know what I mean? And so, you know, like, people just need to, like, just get over the shit and stop, you know, living in this fucking fantasy land, you know, of shit, and get over their own bullshit, man.
Um, we talked about Obama, and I'm sorry, Ketanji. Is that how you pronounce it?
Ketanji.
Ketanji. Okay. Why does it seem like Obama and the Demings are the only political group or couple that both parties are black?
What?
So
He's talking
Obama,
about Obama. His wife is black, and
yeah.
then with Val Demings, she's a congresswoman here in Central Florida. She's running for the Senate against Marco Rubio. Her husband is the mayor of Orange County. He's also black. He's
He's
Hmm.
black.
and then the judge, Ketanji Brown Jackson, her husband is a white man. That's what he's referring to.
Is he a white man?
Yes.
That's news to me. Um. Oh man, that kind of plays into EJ's
Oh, here we go. I didn't say
E-
anything about that.
EJ does this thing where he says and I agree with him that successful successful black women um stray away from black men.
I don't think so.
Well,
And I this is just a this is a segue. I don't want to attack Katanji. I mean, congratulations to her, first of all. I don't think we said that at all.
nope.
Congratulations to her. She
Facts.
definitely
Congratulations.
well deserving based on the background that she has, especially the stuff that VP kind of put us to now. I didn't know that she was uh
Public
a
defender.
public defender or defense on the defense side. I didn't know that. I didn't read her background. I wish I had,
And
but
Steve, real quick, let me say one more thing on that. And this is one reason why I when they brought out the list of people who were potentially being considered, that she was my favorite. Not only was she a public defender, right?
she
She
was
put her
from
career
Miami. I know. I
she
know.
put her career on the line, right? In the mid 2000s, she was one of the public defenders that was assigned to defend people in Guantanamo Bay, people in Gitmo.
Mm.
And you're gonna hear this come out. The Republicans have already started like, oh, she's a terrorist sympathizer, soft on, all this other bullshit. They're gonna try to say to make her seem like she hates the country and all this kind of shit or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, our laws say every person's entitled to a defense when they go to trial, et cetera, et cetera. So the Gitmo detainee got to sign a public defender. She could have said, "Man, this shit gonna be a black eye on my resume." So I mean, I'm gonna give him a defense, but but she went hard in the fucking paint because her job was to defend her client. You know what I mean? And she could have done so at great detriment to her career, especially being a black woman in the legal profession. You know what I mean? And she still went hard in the paint defending this motherfucker, as hard as she could. You know what I mean? And so, like, I think she deserves major fucking kudos for that, yo. And that tells you, like, this is the kind of shit that she believes in this. Like, if I'm your lawyer, I gotta, it's basically ride or die,
Yeah, yeah. Is this a never mind. No, that sounds bad. Um so uh why is it, I mean, so EJ, do you feel like, is it these kind of circumstances that we see black women in power, successful, super successful, and every time we see them on TV, they're with white men, yet they will judge the hell of a black man or an athlete that chooses, to dabble in some vanilla pudding here and there. Is it a double
Well,
standard?
it's definitely a double standard. And my theory, my basis of that information comes from higher education research. And I don't know that the trends have changed over the years. The last things that I read doesn't show that it would swing differently now. But that may be different.
Radio.
That may be different based on socially how we've kind of tried to seemingly come together. But higher education research, the last 10 years that I look back on, and anyone could, fact check me, black women with more degrees were, basically in layman's terms, fed up with brothers not being on their level, and you can't blame them in some sense because you're attracted to what you're around. So if you're getting masters and PhDs and you're in an environment where you're socially being with guys that maybe from other cultures and ethnicities, and they're going to make what you make and they're going to have the same experiences you have, it makes a difference. And if brothers may not be, I mean, you may not have the the garbage man that's making 100K. You may have a dude that has a record, and a lot of sisters are not putting up with that. And historically, it's a liberation type of move. I'm a power woman. I'm doing my thing. I'm gonna, Miss Jackson has a husband who's a surgeon. He's making money. He's matching her fly. So that's been a trend um in higher education when you look at these studies and what women are saying. I'm getting 2 or 3 degrees. I rather be single than deal with a dude who is not on my level, black or whatever. So that's a thing. But it's certainly a double standard when it's thrown at the brothers. And I'm not saying that all women do this, not generalizing, but you do see it happen when a millionaire basketball player who again is in a position where he's the minority, he's at a white school, he falls in love with somebody who happens to be white, and they get married. And sometimes it's about proximity and who you love. So I mean, I don't subscribe to it either way. I think, do what you do. I hope you're with the person you love one way or the other. But it's certainly a double standard, and for black men, a lot of things are double standards, and we don't talk about that. You know what I mean? As black men, there's a lot of things that we can and can't do with this whole privilege thing that are double standards to almost every other culture and ethnicity there is. So
Well, you certainly can't, take the chance of falling in love with a landscaper. You might have so much in common and be happy, but no, give me the surgeon because he's on my level.
So I think the point that EJ made, I don't know about any studies or anything. I haven't seen anything like that, like academic. Everything that I know about this topic is kind of anecdotal. But I think the point that EJ made about proximity is extremely valid. You know what I mean? Because in this person that we're talking about specifically, before I speak more generally, she actually met her husband in college. They met while they were at Harvard, and started dating, and then later got married and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But if you just take that aspect of it, of people who meet their significant other in college, right?
mhm.
Now, if you're a black woman, you went to Harvard, like, what are the options there for other black men? Are there black men there in the law school, in the medical school, et cetera, whatever school, business school? Yeah, yeah,
Barack,
sure.
Barack was already taken.
The one fucking last airbender.
So, you know what I mean? But like, when we start thinking about that, especially at a school like a Harvard, or like the kind of places you think that like a person going to the Supreme Court would have been educated, right? So the options probably were already limited. You know what I mean? And you're at this school. Most of the people who you're there with are white. So maybe also you think about and I don't know. I didn't like go to my college experience. Wasn't like EJ's, right, where like I didn't live on campus or anything like that. I was already like almost in my 30s when I started college and shit like that. You know what I mean? Was married, had a family, etc. But I would have to imagine that a young black man who made it to Harvard is probably not going there to fuck around and looking for a relationship. He's going there to get it done, to get this career started, to change his family tree and shit like that. You know what I mean? And so maybe, you know, while she was there, there aren't people who are like looking for her. You know what I mean? And then here comes this white dude who's like, yo, check out old girl, da da da. He shoots a shot, and then the rest is history. You know what I'm saying? But to EJ's larger point about proximity, that shit matters, because if you go to college and you got all these degrees and stuff, and you're working at a law firm, you're working in big corporate America, some high end government job, et cetera, et cetera. The people who look like you in those levels are gonna be small, just because of the nature of the history of our country, right? And so the people who are gonna be there to either shoot their shot or you shoot your shot at or whatever might not be your same complexion. You know what I mean? And I think that's why we see that a lot. Why it happens in sports and things like that, I don't know. You know what I mean?
It's
But when
it's
you
the
think
same
about
thing. It's the
I
same
can
thing.
tell you why.
It's the same thing. It's
We'll
it's
get
literally
canceled, but I could tell you why.
and part of your why,
I ain't
yeah.
putting that thing in my mouth. You got me fucked up.
Oh,
Just saying. Just saying, dog. You asked the question. You, I'm gonna give you the answer.
glad it wasn't me this week, but
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it's the same thing as proximity. You know, most of these guys, the 5% that make it to the league, they go to the top schools where they're minority students.
Yeah,
The only thing that black people as a culture societally have a problem with is bashing the black man for doing it. And really, if you just boil it down and strip it back, if as a people we could stop pointing the finger at each other and saying, well, you know, and getting mad about the shit instead of saying, well, how can we bring ourselves together? Then we'd be in a better place. But
yeah,
when we start to point fingers at the pot and then the kettle calling it black, you're not making no sense. Because when you look at a lot of the successful black women today, and I don't know if I can say a lot, but just off the top of my head, some of the biggest women, most powerful women in this nation, they got white men now. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
Eve, I mean, shit. I don't know that we're not gonna say Eve is most powerful, but she's married to a billionaire. You know, the vice president is married to a white man. You know, I mean, so it happens. You know what I mean? It's just the thing that we as a black people we have a thing of beating each other up, and you know, it's people will say, well, the availability, the minority thing. I get it, man. But if these dudes was in college for 4 years with, you know, nothing but white chicks around them, that, you know, what might you expect? That's what's gonna happen. Same on the inverse, you know. So I don't
yeah. They need to take a page out of Mackenzie Bezos or Mackenzie Scott page and go find themselves a little $50,000 college professor because you know you might actually be happy instead of just
I
faking
think
it on TV.
I
know.
think he was a high school teacher. I don't think he was a college professor.
Oh, even more the
Yo, I
JV
still
JV soccer coach, debate team coach.
I still to this day I keep saying I need to understand how these two people met because I just don't like I don't see how they like
Something ain't adding up, bro.
I don't see how they even
It's
meet each
H's,
other
dog.
like given the circles that each side runs in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you
Like I
know,
remember Steve was like maybe they met the dog park, and I'm like, you think she goes to the dog park where he goes? Like, come on.
true, true. Her shit is secure. You know,
The dog park is
but
in her crib, bro.
Right.
yeah, and I think it also comes down to what we talk about all the time, and we hear it, right? We hear it from some of the baddest women. And this is kind of off of her a little bit. She's not bad, but men are intimidated, right?
Damn.
God damn.
What? I didn't say what. I didn't say she's not a baddie. Like, I mean, listen, the money, listen, she bad. The money bad. Call me, Mackenzie. Um, but men get intimidated, right? You know, as much as we try to play our fucking egos for our homies and shit, you know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? It's the corny ass dudes that are the ones that shoot the shot 150, 60 times and be like, fuck it. I'm okay if I shoot 1% because I'm shooting only at baddies or I'm only shooting at bitches with money or whatever the case is. You know what I'm saying? And then you see these whack ass dudes pop up with the baddest broads or the most successful broads, and we all be like, how the fuck? Like I got shit going for me. I'm a catch, and you got
Yeah.
this dude with the felines that just wants to drive your car. Like it's crazy.
Nah, I think that's a good point, Steve. Because I think when you, especially when you talk about like the intimidation thing or whatever, but it's like you see somebody, you see a chick, you know, that's just you know dime, and a lot of dudes automatically assume she got a dude. Like she can't be
Mhm,
that fine and single. You know what I mean?
mhm.
And so they don't. They kind of. It's almost like you
Or
self
mentally
censor.
stable.
I mean,
it's almost like
I'm just listening to the two married motherfuckers who've known their wives for forever talk about this bullshit here. But go on.
but it's almost like men, kind of self-censor and think like, okay, she's fine. If she's that fine, she gotta have a dude, this or that. So you kind of just take yourself out the game without ever shooting that shot. Whereas the dude who Steve's saying who might be a fucking cornball is like, yo, let me see what's up. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And for him, he probably gets rejected a lot, so it don't matter. But like Steve said, because he's only shooting shots at baddies,
Right.
when one hits, it's
Right.
almost like if you only shoot half court shots, when the one hit, it's like, yo, like,
Right.
25,000.
If all you shoot is game winners, dog, and then you hit one,
yeah,
you the hero.
you Robert Horry and shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's so many things about this though. It's so many things at play. That is a factor, yes, because you have the societal thing where you see the memes, you see the posts. Oh well, yeah, he can have a job, but he can't have kids. He can't have this. He can't have that. Like women, we forget women still believe Prince Charming is coming. Like lady, I understand that you're 35 plus and you don't have children. The likelihood that a man is like that is very slim. And men that I've seen it, and I feel bad for the women that encounter men that don't have kids, that have the expectation that their potential wife is gonna be without kids. Stupid as shit, and it's irrational. And then you have the other element. It's like, you know what I mean, you could be trying to talk to a chick, hold the door. You know what I mean? They're like, I don't want to talk to you. I was just holding the door. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's the
Like
other piece.
it's so much of that going on too. So and it's a savage world out here, man. And the thing is, when you get to a certain age, and if you haven't really addressed, because you could still have your internal issues and demons and stuff, but it's about when it affects someone else. You know what I'm saying? When I know that this is a problem for me, but I'm making it a problem for you. And we are a people in a society now where we're unwilling to compromise, where we're unwilling to change, we're unwilling to be vulnerable. It's like, oh, I posted it the other like 2 weeks ago. It's like, oh, if something's not going wrong right, I'm just gonna ghost them. You know what I mean? Like it was funny. I picked up. I had to start talking to this girl. Right, things are going good. Like
You breaking up.
things are going good. I haven't met her. Can you hear
There
me
you
now?
go. Yeah, you good.
Good.
I started talking to somebody, and now, mind you, I hadn't really met her yet or anything like that. We were planning to get together, and she had sent me a message. I responded, right? But through the course of her day, she was so busy, she missed the message. So a day goes by, and I hit her like, "Yo, what's up with you?" She was like, "Oh, you didn't answer my message the other day, so I figured you just ghosted me." I was like, "I did answer the message." So she sees a message like, "Oh shit, I fucked up." I just thought, that typically is the case. Like, oh, I just get ghosted. And I'm just like, here you are. You just ruined the entire thing because of your experiences. You know what I mean? So we're in a society where working through stuff, talking and feeling and saying how I intentionally feel is frowned upon, especially in our community of the black and brown people. Because society is just like, even with the songs, it ain't nothing to cut that bitch off, or you know what I mean? Just look at everything that we're pushing societally and culturally. It's pushing everything for us to be apart to make it that much easier.
And I hear what you're saying, EJ, but I always say this, you know what I mean? Like people are a collection of experiences, right? Now, if this same chick that you met, if she had communicated, we all anybody says that, communications is key, right? So
Mhm.
when y'all first met, or not like met, but like, online, however it happened or whatever, if she had said like, hey, when you hit me, if I don't respond within, a certain amount of time, hit me again because I might have missed it. I don't want to, you know, miss the because I'm gonna think you ghosted me or some shit like that, right? Now on her side, she's thinking like, okay, I'm being open, I'm being honest, I'm letting this dude know like how I need to be communicated with, et cetera, et cetera. But on the other end, the dude might be like, yo, this bitch too needy. I can't, nah, fuck that. You know what I'm saying?
But I mean,
And so, and then people have to
look
put
at the
that in their
example.
calculation,
But look at the example I literally gave you. She did not communicate that, and it was actually no need to even have that being said up until that point. You missed the message, and so you
Right.
then
No, no, no,
assumed.
no. But the point
No,
I'm
I
making
no,
is
I'm
that
saying I get what you're saying. I'm saying even in that instance, she then communicated what she was used to, but the damage was already done. There was no
Mhm.
need to even come up front and say that. We haven't even got to that point. I get what
Right.
you're saying, but it has to be reciprocity. And that's the thing people aren't willing to do. Like here you are, right? You messed up. You were wrong. And even if you said that to me, it's still up to me to want to decide to deal with it, and that's okay. But we ain't even get there.
Next time, just lead with a Delphi. she won't miss that. Listen, you're gonna shoot your shot. That's what happened. Mackenzie got the Delphi and was like, "Oh, wasn't expecting that, shaved and all," and boom.
You know what I think probably happened with this Mackenzie thing, man.
Nasty.
I think one, I think it was probably like some 6 degrees of separation kind of shit where they met like at a wedding or something. It had to be something like that, because I just don't see how they traffic in the same circles to meet each other
Right.
at a grocery store, like you know what I mean. I think it had to be like a wedding reception or some shit like that. And maybe he doesn't know who she is, and so he goes up, spark it up. They start talking. She thinks like, oh, this dude is funny, whatever the fuck. Because had he known who she was, maybe the conversation is different where he's like nervous and he's trying too hard. You know what I mean? Because most dudes that she's probably interacted with were probably those guys who are like trying super hard. They want to make sure, I'm gonna stand like this to make sure, that you can see this side of and all this kind of shit like that. Whereas dude is just like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, you want to dance? Blah, 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 and they just chopping it up. And she's like, man, this guy is so cool, and then he finds out like, oh shit, but by then he's
Jackpot.
already in there,
I'm going with Steve's. I'm going with Steve's theory. She got the Delphi. Was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Like,
you're right, Vari. He was a high school science teacher, and he pledged to work with her in giving away her billions. No, yeah,
I could do that job.
yeah. Listen, I'll find something to do with it. Uh
You
she
ever, you ever been to Bridgeport? Let's go.
man, shit. Listen, I got a trust set up. let's put it in the trust. Um, Yeah, man. So yeah, that's probably what you're probably right, VP. They were probably at a wedding. He made her laugh because that's how it happened. Like a lot of women say that. Like he's making you laugh, and then your panties are off. Like it moves fast. It moves fast when you're funny. Right, EJ?
and right, Pete Davidson.
Right, exactly.
God damn it.
Point proven. Um, yeah. So all right. So
Shout out to that brother, man.
yeah, Skeet Davidson. You gotta be a listen, man. He's a hero, dog. He's a hero. Yeah. Pete Davidson is the first person to actually like live by the skeeting on your baby seat. Like that's the life he's living right now. Like, dog, you can be as mad as you want. You can go on Twitter. You could go on Instagram, post whatever you want. End of the day, I got your baby moms. I'm seeing your kids more than you are.
Damn.
Like it's a win. Like, why does he even need to respond? Like, people are like, oh, how come he don't say nothing? That's why I wouldn't say nothing either. Especially if Kim is like, nah, don't say nothing. All right, I'm not gonna fuck this up. You know what I'm saying? Like Pete Davidson, don't get me wrong, he makes money on Saturday Night Live, but he don't make Kim Kardashian money. You know what I'm saying? He not living a Kim Kardashian life. Like he probably wouldn't have had that Miley Cyrus gig on New Year's Eve had it not been for her. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of stuff that I think gets opened up because he's associated with Kim Kardashian that people aren't understanding that he can't fuck up that relationship. Like
Right.
it's more than just a relationship. Like it's a partnership and it's leading to some success for him. So he has to be quiet. So to VP's point, shout out to Pete.
Pete Davidson also is, he's a white guy, but he's also from New York City. And reality
Long
is
Island.
from Staten Island.
Staten Island. I'm sorry. Sorry, Staten Island.
He ain't gonna be with Kim much longer, bro. He ain't gonna be. He's
Yeah,
on.
I think he's a rebound, but still,
Right.
like
Right.
you
This
check the dude's record, and it's like, damn.
That's what I'm saying. I was gonna say he's a stick man of our time, and his history is shown.
you
He's
got to
gonna be
make the
on
most
to the
of your
next one.
opportunities.
He's
Because
gonna
look
be
at
on to the next one.
what was your boy's name, EJ? That played for the Knicks. That was with Kim.
Who Humphreys that played for the
Yeah, yeah,
Nets?
Humphreys.
Yeah, Humphreys.
The Nets, the
Chris
Nets. I'm
Humphreys,
sorry,
yeah.
Chris Humphreys. He didn't make the most of his opportunities, and look at him. You know what I'm saying? Like, make the most of the opportunity. If it don't last, it don't last. But at least get
Well,
something out of it.
she was a different Kim then too, though.
Yeah,
And
that's
he's
true.
getting exposed. He's getting exposure right now. Lots and
But
lots of it.
also,
So
for him, he got that guaranteed money, so it's all good. You know.
Yeah, but shout out to Kanye though. He left the
Mm,
one joint and got
mm,
back with the little baddie. She's bad.
allegedly,
nah. The thing for me with Kanye, I mean, you guys already know how I feel about Kanye, so I'm not gonna go there. But
Nah,
like, I read an article that was talking about this shit going on with Kanye, man, and he's doing a bit too much, man. Like, like going after Pete Davidson on Twitter and telling his fans when they see him in public they should harass him and shit like that or whatever. Like, the thing is that this kind of toxic shit is in this environment that we're in now with social media and shit like that. There's gonna be some fucking unhinged person who does some shit. They're not gonna go and talk shit to Pete Davis, and they're gonna go and do something. You know what I mean? You can't be doing that kind of shit, man. Like that shit is just that. Come on, dude. Like, y'all
yeah.
ain't together
We
no
see
more. Like, do what you got to do to see your kids and move the fuck on, yo.
we see that'll happen all the time. Like the Nicki Minaj little hive or whatever they call themselves. Like Nicki Minaj gets into it with somebody and they immediately attack them. The Beehive, you can't say shit about
Beehive
Beyonce.
is Beyonce. Nicki Minaj is the Barb's.
Barb's
That's what I
and
said. You can't
Rihanna's
say
the
shit.
Navy.
Yeah, you can't say shit about them. Shit, look at
Yeah,
Drake. Look at the little Drake hive when he was beefing with Joe Budden, and these dudes popped up at Joe Budden's house in New Jersey. Like it's crazy. But you know
yeah,
what? Here's the thing, right? You could do that, and it could turn out not to Pete Davidson getting hurt, but it could turn out to that fan getting hurt. You know what I'm saying? Because if you pop up like, oh, yay this, yay that, Pete Davidson might be he might be holding something there. You know what I'm saying?
They got bodyguards for sure.
yeah.
Right.
That shit is
So
just, you can't in this environment. I mean, if you think about, I don't know if you guys know who John Hinckley is, but he's the guy who shot Reagan, right, in the
Hmm.
80s.
Yep.
And according to him, he said that Jodie Foster was sending him messages like when she would do interviews and shit. He felt like she was talking to him, telling him he had to kill Reagan and shit. You know what I mean? And you know,
But
so
I think he might have. That sounds like he was probably schizophrenic though.
I was gonna
no
say he's
doubt.
low.
But that's what
There's
I'm
some
saying.
mental
But
health
you, but
issues in
you
there.
don't know what these people are hearing. You know what I mean? When you blast some shit out on IG, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, you don't. You Kanye has what 30 million followers on Twitter. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Everybody aren't rational people who are gonna say, "Yo, this motherfucker's crazy, man," or "Yeah, I can't believe he said this shit," or "Oh, ha ha ha." You got some people who are taking that shit literally. You know?
Yeah.
And you're right, VP, because he went a week long rant there where he was like, "Oh, Pete Davidson, this is how you're treating somebody with mental health issues." Like, so you know what I'm saying? So someone who
Yeah.
does actually have those mental health issues, maybe they're not on their medication one day and they read that, they could take that and be like, "Wow, he is insensitive to my situation." You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
And you think about, a topic that we've talked about plenty of times on the show and off. You look at January 6th, right? Now Trump says, I didn't tell nobody to storm the Capitol. Them people are saying, no, that's what I heard. You know what I mean? And so you can't do that kind of shit because you don't know how people who are receiving that message are hearing it,
Nah,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right. Kanye. I'm gonna say this about Kanye, man. I looked at the documentary, the Netflix Genius. You know, the old Kanye. I don't know if he's different than what he is now. Well, he's clearly different because he's a megastar and his ego is completely different. That dude was the truth, man. He was a genius. His journey is beautiful, and I've said it before, man. And I have, thank God I haven't experienced this. VP, I know you have, but you're mentally built different. But Kanye losing his mom, man, I think that was the turning point. You know, she was so close and they were like best friends. You know, and I don't think he gets a Kim Kardashian to this point if she's still around. Um, but who knows? But yeah, I mean, that's definitely I think something he probably never really reeled back in. And let's be real, you know, putting this back on the Kardashians, everything they touch and everyone they're involved with seemingly ends up this way. Okay.
All right.
And this is the
Yeah.
woman that has made her claim to fame, you know, with the sex tape, smashing you know, Ray J, then, you know, the hairdresser, you know, just everything she's done, you know, I don't know. I don't know. It's questionable. Say it best.
Yeah. And the one thing that I'm questionable about, or that that I'm cautious with Kanye, when I say he's crazy and shit like that, like, is the fact that if he, like, outside of social media, if he was really that crazy, why do you see him, and or not him, but you see all these celebs around him, right? He's like, you can open up a screen one week and see him hanging out with, we've seen him with Madonna, we've seen him with Diddy, we've seen him with everybody across the board, and these are high profile celebs. You know what I'm saying? Why would you associate your name and your personal branding with somebody like that if they really did have something going on there, besides just a mental health issue? So I don't
It's
know. I
proximity.
don't, I don't know that you know I don't like that part, and I also think that if you're going to support him in private, you need to support him in public. Because
Yeah, I
Kanye's
mean,
crazy enough that if they were telling him, if they were trying to say, he's crazy, right? He, like, and he's genius crazy, but he's crazy to the point where, like, if he was to sit down in a meeting, let's say with Diddy for a huge contract or something, and Diddy was like, hey, listen, man, we're gonna get this deal done, but you got to slow down with all that crazy stuff about Pete Davidson. Kanye is just wild enough to be like, fuck you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Most other artists and other acts are going to be like, this is Diddy and this is an opportunity of a lifetime. So, all right, okay, I got you. You know what I'm saying? But not Ye. Like, Ye understands his worth, he understands his value, and he'll be the one to be like, nah, dog, this is what I'm on right now. You can live through it, or we can move on. You know what I'm saying? So I have to suspect that these people are in, behind closed doors saying, all right, well, I'll work with you. I get it. I get what you got going on, and I support you. But then when it's time to do it, you're not seeing that same showing.
And I think to that point, Steve, what you just said reminds me of this quote I used to put on my emails a few years back, and it says that the measure between success and insanity is, or I'm sorry, the measure between genius and insanity is success, right? Because if Kanye doesn't have that success and he's doing all this shit, people are like, yo, this dude is crazy. We might need to, Baker Act them. I don't know if I think Baker Act's just a Florida thing. But if you don't know what that is, EJ, it's when like somebody gets
When you say you got to
involuntarily
harm
committed.
yourself. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure every state has something like that. It's probably called something different. But yeah, like maybe like there might be some kind of Baker Act situation where he's forced to go get help. You know what I mean? But because of his success, that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? And like, I mean, remember back in I think it was like 2018, 2019, something like that, when a bunch of people, Chappelle and all them, like went to I think it was like Montana to like go get him, to try to talk to him and shit like that, because they were saying he was having something. This was before, I think it was right before Kim split up from him or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think the people who care about him are trying to, reach out or do whatever. But those other people, it may just be, I'm a star, you're a star, but your star shines a lot brighter than mine. So I want that proximity to help me. The same way you talking about how Pete Davidson is getting opportunity from the relationship with Kim. These other people might just look at it as a business transaction where, oh, I'm at the club with Kanye, and that might allow me to have a conversation with so and so. That might allow me to get a deal done with this person or whatever. They just want that proximity. So it's more of a, I'm gonna use this person to further, my own goals and ambitions. You know what I mean?
I think again we play too much into the media because when you look at it at the end of the day, in order to get committed under those type of laws, state by state, you have to show extreme danger to yourself, others, and the inability to operate and function. You know, Kanye ain't out here hanging no babies over no balconies for a picture.
Whoa, sir. We we
Blink,
attack everyone, but there's a limit here,
I'm just saying, Blanket is
and
alive now. We good.
that limit stops at
Blanket is a
MJ.
whole comforter now. He's fine. My point is, you know what I mean? Kanye ain't doing nothing. You know what I mean? He ain't done nothing. All he's done is build hype for his albums, and that's all he does. And we buy into it, we feed into it. You know, he attends the Super Bowl. He ain't out there fighting nobody. He ain't knock no paparazzi out. I mean, it's far less celebrities that are done way more than Kanye's actually doing. You know what I mean? So while he
That's a
might
good
be
point.
actually wanting his family back, I don't think he really wants Kim back. You know what I mean? I think he might be a little heartbroken or whatever, but you know, all of this is coming out as he launches a new streaming thing, as he's launching Donda 2. You know what I mean? So he's a marketing genius. And, you know, unfortunately for him, even if there is sincerity in the things that he feels, his life is always going to be on display because he's a megastar now. But when I listen to his interviews, he sounds very lucid. He sounds very put together. He makes a ton of sense. Now, does he have off the wall theories? What billionaire doesn't? You know what I mean? So
Are you
I don't
ready to
know.
apologize now? Before we move any further, you need to apologize to Michael.
Yes,
Can't,
I'm
bel
sorry, Mike, but
can't
he did.
believe your mind went to blanket like
But
that.
he did. He hung blanket over the balcony, yo.
He was showing paparazzi his baby.
Yo,
Nowadays,
fam.
nowadays they freaking hide their kids like somebody want to steal their face.
Yo, fam.
Uh,
He was
before
wild. He didn't even have blanket all the way in his grasp.
stop, stop, stop.
Yo,
See how y'all treat our
yo,
geniuses.
yo,
First Cosby, then R. Kelly. Now you
yo,
getting at Michael. Hey,
yo. Mike almost dropped.
nah, he was good, man. Mike had sure hands, dude. He could have been a wide receiver.
Yo,
Yo,
he's wilding.
VP. Before we get into bingeables, real quick, I know we covered a decent amount, but anything going on in politics besides the war and the judge?
Nah, not really, man. This week, this upcoming week is going to be a big week. Biden State of the Union is on Tuesday.
They ain't
Congress has
putting that
actually
shit on
been
Tuesday. What's the historical fact behind that? The
what being
Tuesdays.
on
It should
Tuesday.
always be on a Tuesday.
I think they try to look for a night that they try to work with the network schedule to see like if they're
Slowest
not going to
nights.
be interrupting like too much big shit, you know?
Got it.
Mhm.
Slowest nights. Okay.
Taco
Yeah.
Tuesday.
So, but yeah, so you know, it's most shit in politics right now is consumed with Ukraine, and now to be this Supreme Court nomination, and then Biden State of the Union is this week. One other thing that happened over this weekend was that Marjorie Taylor Greene, that's the crazy congresswoman from Georgia,
Yeah.
she went to a rally with I can't think of the name of the pack right now, but that's not important. It's with this political action committee that's run by this guy named Nick Fuentes, who is a white supremacist. And I don't mean like you may think he's like an open white supremacist.
He's
And
racist.
she spoke at his event or whatever, and then afterwards she's like, oh, you know, I don't support anything like that. I just know he has a lot of followers, and I thought they would like to hear the American first message. And it's like, you think that maybe he has a lot of followers who are also white supremacists because they know he's a white supremacist?
Another
Like,
Right.
you know what I
case.
mean? Like, how are you not connecting those dots? You know?
Another case of we don't know that you're racist, but we know that people think you're racist because you're with someone that is racist.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so you know, so that happened, and people have been calling on the Republican Party to like condemn this shit and do something about this chick or whatever. Ronna McDaniel put out a weak statement. She's the head of the Republican Party. of the National Committee. She put out this weak statement. Republicans don't stand for white supremacy. Da da da. Like this very vague, not calling the chick out by name. Just these general like we don't stand for white supremacy. It's like, oh, cool. Why did she put that out? If you're somebody who's just living your life and don't know what the fuck's going, you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so yeah, so you had that happen, but most on most fronts has been pretty quiet on the political front.
Okay. Yeah. Not saying you're racist, but you got racist tendencies.
Right. Like
There's
like
some
to
racial.
DJ's point, like Gillum said, I'm not calling you a racist. I'm saying the people who are racist think you're racist.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Andrew Gillum, man, that guy could have. He had so much potential.
Mm-hmm.
So much
Had he
potential.
had he just communicated,
Dog. He didn't even have to communicate. Like we live in an era where it's like, all right, let me take this back. We have advanced to an era where people are more accepting of, your sexual preference, right? Um just don't do the coke and the drugs and like all of that stuff you can do without. You know what I'm saying? You could go do what you do. Like we've seen adultery, we've seen homosexuality out there. People openly support it. If anything, it could have worked for him. You know what I'm saying? Because he would have gotten attacked by people that are homophobic and shit like that. So it could have actually helped him and worked for him. It's just the whole the visuals, the cocaine and shitty draws, and like it was just a bad situation, man.
I just
hey,
think Gillum
yo,
was just a bad campaigner overall, man. Like I've said this to EJ plenty of times.
And that,
Is that when you look at that 2018 race, and you see Gillum who loses the race by 30,000 votes. And all I'm thinking back is, man, I'm watching TV and I'm seeing, news. Andrew Gillum was in the Villages. And I'm thinking to myself, why?
yeah.
The
Why? What are you
Villages is
doing
one
there?
of the most Republican areas in Florida.
Right.
Like, they not for you, dog.
Yeah, you're
Why
not
didn't you have
swinging.
your
You're not
ass?
swinging them.
Why didn't you have your ass in Miami talking to people saying, hey, we need you to get out there. We need you to get out there. We need you to get out there. In Broward County. Broward County is one of the most the bluest area in Florida. The bluest county in Florida is Broward County, right? And when you look at Broward County in 2018 compared to 2014, the vote was down. So had
but
you
we
been
know
there
why.
instead of the fucking Villages,
But we
you
know
could have
why
you could
because
have won that governor's race.
you know why. That's the same thing that happened with Lieutenant Governor Brown when Hogan beat him. He assumed that because I'm black
I
and these
got them
people,
already.
I'm good. He didn't come to Baltimore, but one
Mhm.
time, and Baltimore said, "You know what? We're not voting for you. We're not." And these politicians know. They look at Miami, they look at Baltimore. Hey, you black, you good. They're not educated voters. They ain't worried about nothing you saying. You good? Nah.
Hmm.
People wasn't for it.
Mhm.
People
Right.
wasn't for it.
And people
But
see that shit. And you look at this past campaign, right? Um a lot of people who I follow in Democratic circles in 2020 were saying, oh, I think Biden has a shot at Arizona. They were like, but really, I think he has a better shot at Georgia. And Stacey Abrams, who's on the ground in Georgia, is like, we need you to come here. And the Biden people who ran the campaign were reluctant because they're like, oh, we heard it all before. We've been burned by Georgia. So they spent some money there running ads and shit like that. They're like, you need to get Biden's ass in Georgia. And then at the end of the campaign, that last week, he did one event in Georgia, like in the Atlanta area, and then Kamala did another event somewhere else in Georgia or whatever. And that kind of shit helps. Like people need to see you and not just
And
a
and
30-second TV ad.
and we always, and I always say this, I always go back to this. This is the problem with the Democratic Party. You say whatever you want about the Republicans. They know that if all they got to do is go to their people and their base and lie and rally them, as long as they see them, these people are gonna vote. They're gonna feel that. The
right.
Democrats, they get in there, and 4 years go by, they never come back. They never say anything. Even Maxine Waters, who, career politician, she will hit them
Who hates
streets.
Maxine Waters?
She no, but I give her credit. I know I don't hate her for the body of work, anything. I don't like the social media antics of this older woman now But
EJ goes to Burger King. They don't put cheese on the sandwich. He's like fucking Maxine Waters, yo. Like what the fuck?
no, but she hits them streets though.
Yeah,
She
do.
gets in the streets, and she realized that very early on. That's the problem that we have with that party, man. They not in the streets with their people, and
Right.
even if you gotta lie to them, like, bruh, just come
Well,
on out.
now you got. I mean, you got them in the streets, and they're making promises they can't keep.
Well, if you weren't black,
Student loans.
So I hear you on that, Steve.
I guess
And
I am
don't-
black because I voted for him, right?
I don't
mean
think
that's the qualifier.
I don't think the student loan thing is happening based on
No,
everything
we
that I
know it's
see.
not happening.
But-
We know it's not happening.
If you're trying to give Joe the benefit of the doubt,
No benefits, no
it-
doubts.
it hasn't happened yet.
Right, exactly.
Still got 2 more years.
Right, dog. Yeah, it might be your last 2. It might be your last 2. Shit. Understand that. All right, man. What you been watching? Olympics is done, so I know you had to be watching something. But now there's a war, so now you're stuck on the news.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of that stuff on Ukraine, man. And again,
yeah, but you got to pull your mind from that, man, because you're gonna be
right.
That shit's stressful.
I mean, but they build different over there, man. That's all I can say. They seem real. But like, did you see the video I posted with the president? Because like the Russians keep putting out propaganda saying he fled, and he did like one of the man on the street video selfies, and he's like, Prime Minister so and so is here. This dude is here. This dude is here. The president is here. You know what I mean? He's like, we here. You know what I mean?
He did another one this morning. This morning.
He been doing them every day because he like, yo, they like this. It's yeah. But anyway, for stuff I've been watching, man, I watched I actually watched this like 2 weeks ago, but I forgot to mention the last few times we did Bingeables. I watched a Murder Mystery, which is an Adam Sandler joint. It's with him and Jennifer Aniston. It's kind of like Clue, kind of.
What's it called?
Like on this it's Murder Mystery.
Oh, it's actually called Murder Mystery. I thought you said a murder mystery. I'm like, oh shit, okay. Well, what's the name of it?
Yeah. It's basically it's like him and his wife are going on their honeymoon. He's married to Jennifer Aniston. They're going on their honeymoon and they meet this rich dude. Yeah. And so I checked that out like a couple weeks ago. It's pretty funny.
No, you can finish. You can finish what it's about so everyone else could hear. But
they meet this rich guy on a plane, and then he invites them to his yacht or whatever, and then somebody gets murdered on the yacht, and people think that they did it, and so it's like them trying to like solve this crime or whatever.
You said it's on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay.
It's called Murder Mystery. And so I checked that out. I watched the new Kingsman's joint. I thought that was good. I thought it like good. Kingsman's kind of over the top, like with the fights, choreography and stuff like that.
This one was
so
pretty
I thought
good.
This was just going to be more of the same, just a prequel. But it actually, it actually was pretty good. And then they used like some real history to kind of film the movie around or whatever. So I thought it was
that
good.
one scene though when they were fighting, when leading up to fighting Rasputin, when he was fixing his leg.
Oh yeah, yeah, that shit was a little wild.
Yo,
that was a little wild. I don't want to spoil it for you, Steve.
I was hollering.
You watch it, you be like, the fuck?
I was hollering, yo.
Yeah,
I was hollering, yo.
I'll leave it at that. You're gonna, when you watch it, you can come back to the pod like. But yeah, so I checked that out. And then I also started Euphoria. I had been saying I want to watch it for a while. Steve mentioned on the pod wanting to watch it, so I was like, let me go ahead and get it started. So I watched episode 1 of the first season, and yeah, man, I get why everybody who's watched that show says, man, check on your kids, man. Because they're showing like shit that these teenagers are doing and stuff like that. Huh?
I said are doing. I kind of finished your statement.
Oh yeah, they're showing the shit that these kids are doing. Whether it's drugs, the alcohol, sending nudes, all kind of shit, man. It's just it's it's wild. You know what it reminds me of? It had that Game of
Kids.
Thrones vibe.
Oh,
It had that game, like you know how you watch Game of Thrones. Like if you think about, even though I always tell people like if you watch Game of Thrones, like you got to kind of let it breathe the first couple episodes to get you to the main shit. But in that first episode, right, you got a dude that's beheaded. You got an incest scene. They try to murder a child. Like all of that happens all in episode one. You know what I mean? And this shit kind of had like a vibe like that, where there was a lot of shit that happened. And I'm like, damn, this is just episode one. You know what I mean? Like I said, man, it's wild, man.
Shout
It's
out to
wild.
the Evening Rush Network, man, for tuning in. Good people over there.
yeah.
Definitely appreciate it. But there's some shit I can tell you that you and Steve ain't gonna like when y'all check it out.
Mm.
Because they're
Yes.
not
Yes, I
like
know.
it's it's a bunch of nudity in the shit, but they go both ways with it. Like there's
Yeah.
literally one scene with a dude standing in front of a mirror putting on a rubber, like with a fully erect penis.
Oh, hey, yo.
Oh, come on.
And I don't mean like it's not like a far away
Okay.
shot.
Okay. All right. All
It's
right.
like camera right there.
All right, dog.
Hey, yo.
Dude, Barry, you want to give us
Like
and the vein? Yeah. Like,
Hey,
like
yo.
it's a camera shot like this.
Pause. Hey, yo. Good God.
it's a bit much.
So
It's HBO, right? Isn't it HBO?
yeah, HBO.
HBO.
And then
out
they
of
got
control.
this one character on there named Jesse.
Guy or girl?
It's a girl.
She naked?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I told you I was gonna watch it.
She also played
But
in
I'm-
Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, okay. I didn't get around to it this week, but I think this coming week there's a lot out there to watch, man. I need to start that. I need to watch. Were you done?
Yeah, I mean, I can just tell you what the show's about. It's about Rue, who's the main character, which is Zendaya or Zendaya. I don't know how you pronounce her name. The show starts with her like getting out of rehab, and then like I don't know if the whole show is like this, but in the first episode, she's basically like narrating it or whatever. So like you're watching the show, and then every now and then she jumps in and she's like narrating the things that happen. So I'm assuming that the show is probably going to end with her wherever this journey ends, and then you'll probably see some shit like, and that's why I did da da da, and then the series ends or some shit. You know what I mean? But
Does
the whole
she
first
get naked?
episode is no, not so far, not yet.
No, she's not gonna get naked. It's Zendaya. Kidding me?
Just asking.
That's true.
Yeah.
And also, EJ, I don't know if you want that, man.
Oh,
I'm just
here he
saying,
goes.
you weren't here when I talked about that movie Kimmy I watched with
I tried to start watching it and it was so slow.
yeah,
The beginning was so slow.
it is with
Don't get
Zoe
fired.
Kravitz.
Yeah.
And they have a scene. They have a scene with her, and I was like,
I'm gonna check, but I couldn't get through it. It was too slow. But what were you watching, Steve?
I don't like that.
Oh no, I was just saying there's a bunch of shit to start watching. I want to watch the Medea thing. A lot of people said that it was pretty funny.
The Homecoming.
Homecoming, the new one. So I'm gonna watch it.
Pass.
I did watch so I watched there's a comedy on, and I don't know if you guys fuck with him, but I watched Jim Gaffigan. He put a new one out called Comedy Monster, and Jim Gaffigan is really dry. Like it's the comedy that I like. I don't laugh a lot at comedy. Like it's hard to make me laugh with comedy. But this dude, he always makes it because he's just super fucking dry, dude. He's funny as hell. So I watched that. It's funny. There's a lot of current event stuff in there, stuff about COVID and shit. So there was some good content in it. I watched the Paw Patrol movie, and I know you're thinking to yourself, why would you bring this up? Because
I'm not thinking that. You have a kid.
well, yeah, there's that, but there's significance to it, right? They have this mayor, I forget his name, but as you watch it, you know how when you're watching these animated movies and series, they try to put something in there for adults. You can tell whoever wrote this is heavily liberal. Humdinger is his name, Mayor Humdinger. because this dude, they're basically saying this is Trump without Trump. Like they're like, he's like, oh, if this goes viral, I'm gonna cancel the internet. You know what I'm saying? And then he does something, and he's like hashtag humdinger, the characters, like the dogs, are like, oh, not Mayor Humdinger. He's the absolute worst possible choice for politician ever. Like it's like there's just so many messages in there that you're like, oh, okay, you can see when this was written, and you can see, the shots taken. That of course kids won't, it's harmless to kids, but the adults that have to sit through it. So that's why I say it's necessary to mention. So definitely want to check that out. I want to check Medea out, and I'm gonna get Euphoria started. I did also watch. Oh, what was it? I have my phone. Oh, I started this thing called All of Us Dead. It was on the top 10 last week.
I mean,
Yeah. Netflix, right?
And
mm-hmm.
yeah, yep. And it's an Asian. It's another. Or I guess I don't know if it's China, but it's another Asian based show. And it's interesting. Like if you can get into these, which I've been able to lately, and not pay attention to the mouth moving and the words not matching, then you can actually start to appreciate the dialogue and the movies themselves or the shows themselves. And it's a pretty good show. There's only
When
one
you watch
season.
those, Steve, are
Uh-huh.
are you subs or dubs?
So I don't know which one is which, but I play it in English.
Do you use subtitles or do you use the dub over?
I know what you're saying, and I'm telling you, I don't know which is which, but I watch it in English.
Okay, so you do dubs.
So I'm dubbing. Yeah, I'm on
Yeah.
dubs.
I mean,
Oh.
but wouldn't that still be? Oh, so I mean, so to watch that on Netflix though, wouldn't it still just be dubbed over subtitles if you're just putting the subtitles on?
Well, they
So
changed it. You have a choice now. You can do
Ah,
subtitles where you hear it in like that, and then you got to read everything, or you could
mm,
hear like Vari saying,
the
trying to
dub.
sound like the Asian person and be like, "Father, how could you do this?" Like, you know what I'm saying? And then you don't have to worry about reading. So
Gotcha.
right, but
that's
the reason why I asked is that I I watched a bunch of stuff on Squid Game after it got done, and they were saying that the subtitle translation was off, and so they were saying that like
Oh,
there,
was it?
yeah, they were saying like it's not that you didn't miss what was happening, but they were saying like some of the like you had like just like the like them speaking Korean and then with the English subtitles, you would have got
Mhm.
more of a correct translation of what was actually being said versus listening to it dubbed over in English.
Right. And I expect that. Like I think that's always the case. When you talk about translation, you learn that when you have a Hispanic wife, and their family, and you're watching a show, and they say something in Spanish, and you see the subtitle come up, and they all at once in sync say, "That's not what he said."
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I catch myself doing that all the time. I catch
In
myself doing that all the time.
Ebonics.
Not yeah, in Spanglish, in Spanglish,
Oh my goodness, yo.
in Spanglish.
Hey, you know what you just made me think of real quick? I saw this reporter who was reporting on the Ukraine situation. He's like over in Europe somewhere. And this dude speaks six different languages. I think I posted it in the chat. And so you see him talking like he's talking to one news agency in German, another news agency in Luxembourgish or whatever they call their language in Luxembourg, another one in Italian, another one in French. Like this dude just going language. And then somebody in the comments was like, yo, that's so impressive. Da 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 da. And then somebody was like, it reminds me of this joke. It was like, what do you call somebody who speaks three languages? Trilingual. What do you call somebody who speaks two languages? Bilingual. What do you call somebody who speaks one language? An American.
Yo,
It's a political
that's
joke.
crazy. Yeah,
No,
Keep
they're just saying
ending
like how
talking. I
that's
get
crazy
it.
though. I had to think of I had to think when you talking about Luxembourg. I'm like, I don't remember that being, but that's crazy because most of them speak French. 80% speak English. 78% speak 98% speak French. 80%
you mean in Luxembourg?
percent speak English. Yeah. 78% speak German, and Luxembourgish is 77%. Because I
Yeah,
felt like I've been there before, and I was like, I don't remember even hearing that before.
yeah. It when
Yeah.
I heard him talking, it sounds kind of German. So maybe it's like one of those things where like how Portuguese is kind of like a like kind of like a mix of like
Portuguese.
Spanish, huh?
No, it's
Right.
Portuguese.
Right. Here
No,
comes
but that
Vari.
doesn't have like some. It doesn't have like some
Yo,
kind of
these
Spanish to it a little bit,
dudes in
They're
Miami, bro.
similar. I mean, you all of those places,
or
whether
Italian
it's
maybe. I don't know.
all of those places that once had Spanish dominance have some type Spanish elements, but it's
Well, okay, I
some
guess
things
a
you can
better
convert both ways. But yeah,
a
I get
better
what you're saying.
analogy might be like French and Creole. You know what I mean? Because
Right,
like when he was
right.
talking to Luxembourg, it sounded German. You know what I mean? But so maybe there's some German aspect to it, but then they got like their own, you know, kind of certain words and phrases and shit or whatever. But it was interesting. But go ahead, EJ.
Nah, yeah, that was just interesting. 'Cause as soon as you said that, I'm like, I've been there, but I don't remember hearing that being a language. But yeah, that's
What was it
interesting.
like?
I remember more German people than anything.
Okay, that's not what I was
There,
asking. Okay, that's fine.
I, I was
What
a
have you watching?
I was a minor, so I was a minor at the time, so I couldn't get
Oh,
into
okay,
that.
okay.
I will tell you though, in Germany though, when we were on the bus leaving wherever we leaving, like 8 p.m., there was hookers in the parking lot going in, and
Damn.
it was like it was one of those teachers moments because I was there for school, and
Mhm.
the teacher was like this white Jewish lady. Shout out to her. I can't remember her name. She was hot though. The bus is facing the window to the parking lot, so there's nothing she could do, and it's just a row of hookers getting busy out in the open, and it was just like, wow, I gotta come back here. But yeah, but I watched, and Steve will appreciate this. I watched the romantic comedy "Marry Me" with Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson. Totally out
Why,
of this world and unreal, but
Yeah.
it was
why
pretty
would I
good
appreciate that?
because you
It's
like
rom
rom
com.
coms.
I
Yeah,
do. I fucks with rom coms.
I love the rom coms.
My
Be a
wife
Besides,
thug all
watched
the
that.
time, Vari.
My wife watched that while I was in the same room with her, so I heard it on while I was doing something else, and just like listening.
Yo,
So
this
I
nigga
listened to the
go.
whole movie without seeing it, and it didn't. It sounds so unrealistic.
yeah, it
Yo,
was
he
super unreal.
never could just say I watched a rom com. Like it's
But
I did
always
watch.
Aaron made me watch it,
No,
or
I love rom
Aaron
com.
but
Aaron
I'm
was
just
watching
saying.
it.
but you know what
I
though,
was in the room
VP?
while she
You
watched it.
know what, VP? We asked how this guy got with what's her name? How the science teacher
Kinsey
got with
Scott.
what's her name? Hey,
Mackenzie.
hey, Marry Me was kind of similar, man.
Yeah, I give you that. Yeah, that's a good point.
But it was super unreal.
But after they meet, it's very similar. But like the whole like how they got together,
Yeah,
that shit was just
yeah, that
so
was
super
they could have
fucking
did way
unrealistic.
they could have did way better with that. Could have did
Yeah.
way better. But what else did I see? I finished the Reacher series. That was good. It's already greenlit for season 2. There's a series on Epics called From. It's got the guy. It's got the I can't remember what else he was in, but he was in Oz in the wheelchair. Steve, the guy in the
Oh yeah,
wheelchair.
yeah, yeah.
I can't remember what else he was in off the top of my head right
You
now.
know the guy from the Matrix who was like the pilot,
Yeah. He was
Yes,
in
yes,
the.
correct. He's in
and
that,
from the
and
dude from the Best Man with the dreads.
yes, he's in that, and it's decent. It's one of those it's got a twist of Game of Thrones. I mean, not Game of Thrones, twist of Walking Dead, but instead of zombies, it's like some type of other type of monster. So I watched 3 episodes of that, so I'm kind of locked in. But I don't have Epics anymore, so I'm gonna have to try to catch it. Been watching Power Book Force. Uh, that was decent last night. That was a decent little episode.
Oh, I
And
didn't watch. I didn't watch the fourth one. I watched the third one.
yeah,
I guess it's supposed to come out today, so I'll probably watch
mhm,
it today. But yeah, I will.
mhm. Kingsman. I watched that one. There's something else that I'm missing. I feel like it was a movie. Oh yeah, I told you I watched the Genius. I watched the first episode, second episode. Just watching Kanye's journey, man. Again, like that dude did his thing, man. I mean, I remember not being a huge Kanye fan back then at the time, and just to see the grind he had to go through to convince Dame, to give him a shot is just incredible.
Yeah.
I felt like there was something else that I watched, man. I can't think. I tried the Kimmy thing that did not work for me. I might go back to it and try it again.
Did you end up watching? Damn, what was the one that VP was that we watched where they were in?
I haven't got to it yet because
Oh, Kingpins.
yeah, I haven't got
Yeah,
to it
yeah,
yet because
Yeah, you gotta watch that shit, EJ.
yeah. That
yeah,
shit funny.
Hilarious.
I haven't got to it yet because the streaming thing I'm using hasn't listed it as a movie yet. So
Mm.
Oh, you mean the legal cable box that you have?
yeah, well, it ain't a cable box, but the thing that you told me about.
The le Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I don't know what else.
Allegedly.
I feel like it was something else that I was
Allegedly.
watching, man.
Vari, in
Mm.
Euphoria, the chick that plays Cassie,
Who?
she was in Casey,
Jesse?
Casey.
Oh,
I said Jesse.
the other
Okay.
thing. Uh, my close friend of mine, he writes reviews for someone, but he saw the new Batman movie. He said it's pretty. He said it's pretty awesome. He said
Mm.
it's gonna be like that for people. So I'm gonna go see that this week for sure.
Oh, that
That's
comes
out?
out Friday, right? Comes out
Yeah,
Friday,
it'll
Oh
be
wow,
out
I had no clue.
earliest. I think it'll
Thursday,
be out
right?
earliest Tuesday. Actually, I've seen some
Tuesday.
Tuesday and
Hmm.
Wednesday showings, but I'm definitely gonna see it by Thursday or Friday the latest.
Okay.
Is it coming out on a streaming thing? Because
Nah,
I'm
it's in
wondering
theaters.
why they put it
I
out
think they're doing
early.
theaters only.
It's in
Okay.
theaters.
Well, they
Yeah,
put it
yeah.
out early because they trying to. It's a fucking gimmick for box office because like your week your total
Oh yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
weekend starts on when it was released.
When it
So that
yeah.
so like they used to release shit like at midnight on Thursday, and then have people go do that, and then but all that shit counts as like your opening weekend. So
Right.
they open the shit on a Tuesday, and then people are seeing it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then boom, it explodes on the weekend, and then they can say, "Oh shit, opening weekend, it took in $180 million." Even though it was actually out for a whole week and not the weekend.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
also to that point, I mean, I guess it makes sense right now too because there's nothing else good in theaters. Like we went to dinner last night, and there's like I pulled up the Fandango app to look at shout out Fandango, to look at what was in the theater, and like Uncharted
Same.
was like the best thing. Like
Yes.
everything else,
Sing
it
two.
was
It's
just
nothing.
straight up. Yeah, and it's everything. Well, either it's trash or like Sing is available streaming, right? Easily
Yeah.
available. You could get it via streaming. Um, so yeah, with nothing else being there, I
But
guess.
they always release movies. To Vari's point, like people don't typically realize, but movies are usually out by at least Thursday. Because I always used to
Mhm.
go see
Usually,
new
yeah.
stuff on Thursdays. I
Mhm.
also saw the movie the 355 with all of the female spies.
I didn't
That
even want to
was
see that.
actually the fight scenes were actually half decent. Um, it was a little more ruthless than I thought to some degree. It wasn't bad. It was an enjoyable watch. But I'm
Is
getting
there
kind
any
of no, I'm getting kind of
uh
tired of the the female spy stuff because it's all rinse and repeat at this point. Like they're really pushing this whatever you can do, I can do better thing, and it's just like give me another plot, because they're making subtle things in these movies. They're giving lines that are specifically trying to perpetuate that, and it's just like, yo, just let them be spies, let them do their thing. We don't
right.
have to have that narrative throughout the movie. Just let them do their thing. But yeah, totally unreal. But it was a decent watch.
The chicken. I was just IMDbing the Euphoria Vari.
Hmm.
I guess there's the chick from what was she in? Her real name is Sydney Sweeney. She was in what was that other movie we just watched on each or a show? She was in White Lotus. She was the daughter in White Lotus. Remember White
Oh yeah,
Lotus?
yeah.
Um, we get to see her boobs.
No.
Okay. Okay.
Said that so
Um,
disappointed.
She does have
yeah.
a
So,
she does have a
A sex
bottomless.
scene.
that's no. Well,
Oh,
she has a scene where she's like just in her like underwear and bra,
under
like with a thong
black.
on and shit. But
I'll take it.
but she is the one who's actually involved in the scene with the
Hey.
Hey, yo.
Oh
Oh my god.
shit!
Is she playing a high school student? Because
Yeah,
she was playing a high school student in the White Lotus. And when I saw her, I was like, oh, she's kind of. And then I had to stop and look at IMDb to check her age. And she was born in '97. So then I could finish the statement.
yeah. She's playing a high school student. Like she's the one who's she's like the new girl in town.
How's that make you feel?
Wait. I'm pulling up who I'm thinking Sydney Sweeney was somebody else. Hang on a second. I'm pulling up her.
I hate him.
Oh no. Okay, I got her mixed up with somebody else. Sydney Sweeney is the one I said who was Jesse. Who yeah.
Yeah, she's the one from White Lotus.
Yeah, but I remember her from Handmaid's Tale because I had just watched that. I remember. But yeah, I
Okay.
forgot she was in White Lotus. But yeah,
Yeah, she's
she's the one who
smoking,
had the
dude.
scene where they yeah.
So we get to see it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking
Got
about
my
the other person who plays the girl Jules. That's the one I thought you was talking about when I
Oh,
just
I
said
got
just
you.
the underwear scene or whatever.
I like her though. I like that Sydney Sweeney girl. But same thing. The reason I asked was because now I remember that I looked her up on White Lotus, and initially when I looked, I was like, "Please be 18. Please be 18." You know what I'm saying? And yeah, so because you never know with these people playing high school roles. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
nowadays, I guess you're seeing it so much more, but they're actually adults.
Yeah, that show was crazy, man. I was like, damn, this is just the first episode. Like these kids are fucking wild, yo.
Yeah, it's I listened to another podcast, but they said it kind of makes you think of the movie Kids from the '90s. Do you remember that
I
movie?
can't.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, yo. That movie traumatized me.
Yeah, that
It,
movie was
that
bad,
movie
yo.
Yeah,
traumatized me, bro.
I got the DVD still because you can't find it anywhere. Like you
yeah.
can't find that movie anywhere. I'm about to get the DVD out and rip it.
I watched it the one time and I just couldn't do it again.
Bruh, I
Yo, that shit.
It
But
was
you
the
know
same. It
what?
was
We didn't become drug heads because of it. Like the furthest we went was weed. A lot of us, you know what I'm saying. Like
oh
nowadays, these kids are experimenting with everything, dog. Like you know what I'm saying. So
mm-hmm.
there's a message. There's a message to be had in shit like that. It was,
true.
and we saw that shit like them whippets. Niggas went straight into like weirdo mode. Motherfuckers was like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
I feel
I'm
sick.
not trying that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I feel
And
sick.
I
yeah.
think Euphoria tries to like send a message, even though the show is about a kid who's a drug addict, it's showing kids using drugs like throughout the thing, smoking weed and pills and all kind of shit like that or whatever.
Right.
But when it first starts, it shows you how she got there. And she talks about like how when she was a kid, she was having like all this anxiety and shit like that, and panic attacks. Her parents took her to the doctor, and the doctor was like, I mean, it seems like she has like ADHD. She might have this, she might have that, she might have like they ain't like 5 conditions she could have. She's like, but we're not sure. And then next thing you
Right.
know, she's on all these pills and shit like that when she's like 9 years old. And then that shit just kind of escalated to her using more and more drugs. And then she says in the thing, she has a really bad panic attack. And when she goes to the emergency room, they gave her volume. And she was like, that was the first time she had ever felt like that or whatever. And then boom, she gets into the drugs.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm definitely gonna watch it. It's almost like I guess it's not like because I haven't watched it, but it sounds like remember Requiem for a Dream with Jared Leto,
I didn't see that.
um, with the mother who was addicted to. She started to get addicted to weight loss pills, and she just was like, "I gotta have my pills. It's working. I gotta have my pills." And then you just see how it escalates, and then he's a drug dealer, and he gets caught out on it. Like it was a good movie. I thought Requiem for a Dream was a pretty good movie, man. Jared Leto did a pretty good job in there. Marlon Wayans was in it.
Mm.
Yeah.
I missed that.
All right, man. Yeah, it was. It's good, man. Especially when you talk about for that one, it was like the lady it was weight loss, right? Which is a huge thing, which people talk about now. And she was like, "Oh, I gotta take my pills. I got to get my pills. I got to be, this is gonna make me look beautiful and pretty and shit. And you see her like decline and get super strung out and shit. And there's a message in that too. Like there's just and these things I think are important, man. Like if I was a teacher, dog, I would be getting canceled because they would be watching this shit. I'd be like, yo, see this? Stop popping them pills. Don't be popping these pills. All right, man. I think we're in a good spot right now. The Lakers are sucking. LeBron, man, do better do something. Larry, get your mans. Get your mans.
He about to lead them motherfuckers.
Top 5, not 1 to 4.
He about to bounce. They getting bad. Plus, Bronny's coming in the league. He going wherever Bronny goes.
Yeah, this is the forecast for LeBron. Once you see a down spiral of a team, he's already looking. Where's the best talent? He probably gonna put himself on Chicago somehow.
I'm so
DeRozan.
I'm so conflicted with him. Like I love LeBron, who he is off the court.
Me
I
too.
love the power that he was able to take back for the athletes, but the stuff like this is just like.
I love LeBron. I get this feeling, and this is pause. I'm gonna pause it ahead of time, but I get this feeling like when LeBron pops up, and I see his face, like he does an interview or something, and it's like, yo, I really respect this guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
he's
a very respectable person. He's a huge megastar, superstar. Matter of fact, shout out to him. Cleveland is actually doing a LeBron James museum that's going to be opening a museum. I think it opens in 2023. So shout out to him there, man. He's he puts on for the city. So off court, yeah, man. And this guy is a megastar, and we got to respect him and love him for who he is. But man, like. He just don't do himself no favors on the court, dog. These decisions, like we know what's coming, dog. We know he's gonna end up
on the wall, bro.
Yeah,
I listen, and
he's like a bad baby dad. Like, oh, you pregnant? All right, I'll be right back.
I tell you what, man. If he somehow finds his way in a New York uniform, I take it all back. But
going out for a pack of cigarettes.
Listen, bro.
He on the phone with KD right
nasty,
now,
man. Oh, that would be.
But,
or Philly.
Nah, man. Hey, LeBron is probably he's into his investments. He probably read Buffett. Buffett said you don't hold on to losers. You gotta let them go.
Right.
Yo, it's crazy too, man. Because Jordan
stock is down.
Yo, when Jordan retired, he was only getting $3 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at that shit and you juxtapose what LeBron and these guys are getting now,
yeah,
right. LeBron getting at a minute, like it's crazy.
Right.
A game,
getting at a game check.
Yeah.
I mean that shit. I think I read something that said LeBron is like just in compensation, he's made like $300 or $400 million just an NBA salary, and then factor in all the other shit that he's done. So
yeah, it's filthy rich.
And I read something else. I don't know if this is true or not. I would have to look it up. But I read something that said the NBA actually doesn't have guaranteed contracts. Like it's not in the CBA. It's just something that they started doing, and now no contract is going to be accepted if it's not fully guaranteed.
Right.
Like an unwritten.
It's like one of those. It's like an unwritten rule.
But contractually, they're always going to be better than football. You have a roster of 53 versus a roster of 12 and some reserves. You know what I mean? So it's always going to be.
And you have more. You have more value. We said this last week. You got more value because people can see your face. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I could sell you to to kids. I could sell an action figure. I could put you on a Wheaties box and people know who you are. But you go out aside from a quarterback, you know what I'm saying? Or mega Aaron Donald type of guy, right? But Von Miller, you take Von Miller and you take his face and put it somewhere, nothing.
Neither one of them, Aaron Donald or Von Miller, to the common person that don't follow sports, they don't know who they are.
Right.
Marshawn Lynch was in the league like almost 7 years before anyone was talking about him. He was on the Bills killing people before, it wasn't until he got up on camera and started marketing himself that, with
Skittles and shit like that.
I'm just here so I don't get fined. Richard Sherman, same thing. What I mean? Those guys built them guys, and Richard Sherman will tell you, he's college educated. Let's not forget, Stanford guy. I think he had some PR background to some degree. I'm not 100% certain, but he'll tell you, like, I marketed myself, dog. Like, I got 3 to 4 more years just for doing that shit. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
and he'll tell you he's gonna kick your door down too.
Oh
If
man, yo, my man was, when you talking about what they said
that's
he
rage,
drank.
dog. That's rage.
They said my man bottled up, took a whole bottle down of vodka, then a whole half a bottle of Henny. I was like, yo,
That's that tolerance, baby.
I don't know, bro. You wilding. Like, that's one thing people know not to do. Mix your dark and your lights. Like,
Hmm.
you just ODing. You just drinking whatever's around at that point.
Yep. Yep.
Jesus Christ. Shout out to
All
him.
right,
Hopefully
man.
he's all right.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. He got a deal after that. He was back in
Yeah.
the league.
True.
All right, man. Let's go ahead and get this off to VP so he can get us up out of here. We send our best to the Ukrainians and anybody affected by that, anyone who has family or friends, whether they may not even be Ukrainian. If they're there, you might have someone who's impacted. So shout out to them, shout out to you, and we hope this all kind of blows over.
Yeah. Hey, we definitely appreciate everybody who joined in live and watched the live broadcast of the podcast. We definitely appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday morning/afternoon. For those who will watch once the episode is posted, we definitely appreciate you too. While you're there, if you could go ahead and leave us a like, subscribe, comment, follow, share the video, help the algorithms get us out there. We definitely would appreciate that. As we've been saying the last couple of weeks, I'll continue to say, make that phone call, send that text, let somebody know you're thinking about them. You never know where people heads at. They love to hear from you. So if you've been holding off on doing it, do it. Don't, tomorrow ain't promise. So get that done. You can find the podcast on all podcasting platforms. Just search Castworthy. You can also find any of our social media by searching Castworthy on Instagram. It's at Castworthy_podcast. You know, I know the CDC is lifting COVID restrictions, but I'm still wearing my mask. So I hope you do too. This shit is still out there. So, but other than that, again, we definitely appreciate you guys taking the time for rock with us while we do this thing. And we will see you guys on the next episode. We're out. We love you. Peace.